So the sheriff at that point, the second story, shooting match at Nottingham town. Sheriff's very upset because the tinker didn't work and the warrant didn't work, and now everybody's laughing at him. So he decides to ride off to visit the king, King Henry, I think it is.
Hmm.
Yeah, King Henry and Queen Eleanor. Um, and I did a little research. It turns out that you have King Richard, who is off fighting the Crusades, is sort of the rightful king of England. His father is King Henry, and Richard's younger brother is Prince John, who
Hmm.
Prince John doesn't show up in the Howard Pyle book at all. I did a little search for it, and he's
Hmm.
not there. So it's an interesting little
Hmm.
thing to mention. But yeah, so here we have King Edward, or I'm sorry, King Henry and Queen Eleanor, and the sheriff rides to see them and he brings all his men. So he shows up in force to the king, and he says, "My lord, this Robin Hood guy is giving me a lot of trouble." And the king says, "Yeah, I've heard of this Robin Hood guy. He sounds his doings have reached even our own royal ears. He is a saucy, rebellious varlet, yet I right mighty soul withal." So even the king's kind of a fan of Robin Hood. But the king's like, "But he's breaking the law, and that's not good, and we don't want that. But sheriff, you're my you're the one to enforce my laws in Nottingham. You have all these men that you've arrayed around you to show up here. Why can't you take on this one guy in the woods? This is your job. You should do it. If you don't do your job, um, let's see, thou art not able to enforce them. Thou art no sheriff for me. So look well to thyself, I say, or ill may befall thee as well as all the thieving knaves in Nottingham." So he basically threatens the sheriff he's going to lose his job if he doesn't do his job. And the sheriff turns away and feels bad. And he's like, "Geez, I shouldn't have brought all these guys with me. I look real dumb. What am I going to do?" Um, and then on the way back, the sheriff's like plotting and scheming, compares him to like a loan shark counting coins and making sure they're all full coins. And he's being very, very picky. And he decides to, comes up with the idea to have a shooting match in, in Nottingham, where the winner gets a golden arrow, um, and fame and renown. And he thinks surely this will lure Robin Hood in because Robin Hood's very good with the bow and arrow, and he's not going to pass an opportunity to sort of show off. So they set all that up, um, and Robin Hood hears about it and says, "Oh, guys, we should go down to Nottingham and we should try and win this arrow. This sounds like a good joke to play on the sheriff." And his friend, one of the merry men, David of Doncaster, says that he has heard from the innkeeper at the Blue Boar, again, same guy. He's heard that this is all a trap for Robin Hood. So Robin Hood's already been, informed of the situation. But Robin Hood says, "No, we're going to go anyway. We're not going to let that guy get the best of us." And so he's trying to trick us. We have to trick him even harder. So they go. He sort of implies that multiple of him and his merry men are going to go, and they all sort of, that's the end of
Hmm.
that scene. They go good and they go off together. The next scene is Nottingham town on the day of the match. There's a lovely description of the whole layout of the town and how they have it set up, the people that are there, uh, several famed archers in the area, William of Leslie, um, one of them, Gilbert of the Red Cap, Adam of the Dell. There's a whole list of possibly previously famous
Hmm.
British archers. I've not heard of anything of them, but that's implied in the story. Anyway, there are two yeomen from Yorkshire. There's a tall stranger in blue from London town, and last was a tattered stranger in scarlet with a patch over one eye. And a little bit later, we find out he has a brown beard, and so it can't be Robin Hood because Robin Hood is blonde. Robin Hood has a blonde beard, and so it can't be Robin Hood because his hair is different, and he's got the eye patch, and everybody knows Robin Hood doesn't have an eye patch. So they have the contest. Everybody shoots really well, but surprise, surprise, the guy with the eye patch and the brown beard does the best. This guy wearing scarlet, and he wins the prize. And the sheriff goes up to him and says, "Good job. What's your name?" And he says, "My name is Jacques O'Tivatdale, and that's where I come from." And the sheriff says, "Well, you are the best archer in the land. Thank you. Will you join my service? Uh, you draw a better bow than even that same coward Robin Hood, who dared not show his face today. So he's sort of baiting Robin Hood. Whether the sheriff suspects this tattered stranger as Robin Hood or not, he's still sort of
Mm.
demeaning Robin Hood to his face.
Mm.
But Robin Hood says no, and he says, "No, I won't join you. I'm my own, and no man will be my master." So he
Mm.
sort of just roughly brushes off the sheriff's offer, and so the sheriff gets mad at that and says, "Be gone before I have you beaten for your insolence." And the sheriff strolls away, and Robin Hood, surprise, surprise, it's Robin Hood in the disguise. The next scene, we see them gathered in the greenwood together, and the tattered stranger throws off his scarlet rags and takes off his eye patch and says, "Oh, everything comes off easily except this walnut stain on my beard."
Mm.
So we find out it's Robin Hood for sure, and they have a laugh. But then Robin Hood pulls Little John aside and says that he's still kind of upset that the sheriff
Mm.
called him a coward. And he wants to stick it to the sheriff and tell him, "No, I took your golden arrow, sheriff. I'm the one that has it. You don't get to call me a coward. I was there." So Little John says, "Don't worry about it. Will Stutley and I will send this news to him in a way he does not expect." And so they basically, the sheriff is sitting at the table with his men in his manor house, and they're eating after the big archery contest. And sheriff is sort of talking to himself, and he's like, "I really thought Robin Hood was going to show up. I didn't think he'd be such a coward. But who was that saucy knave who answered me so bravely? I wondered that I did not have him beaten, but there was something about him that spoke of other things than rags and tatters."
Mm.
So we have a sign there. The sheriff sort of knew what was going on, but
Mm.
not enough to actually admit it to himself. And just as he's saying that, something comes in through the window and rattles amongst the dishes, and it turns out to be an arrow with a note that basically tells the sheriff that, haha, it was Robin Hood you gave the golden arrow to, and too bad for you. And the sheriff is very angry and can't really do anything about it. And that's the end of that story.